In today's top 5 tips video, I'm going to be talking all about controls. What settings can you tweak in the menus? What hotkey combinations are there that help you get more out of your character and that top level players are using all the time in their games, but they aren't all that clear from the game itself, so you may not even know that these options exist. This video is particularly aimed at anyone who's looking to really climb higher in Hero League and get the most out of the game as possible, to be putting their best foot forward. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so tip number 1 is all about quick cast, which is an option you can find in the hotkeys menu that happens when you bring up the main game menu. By default, that's by pressing escape. Click into hotkeys, and at the bottom of the menu on the left hand side, you'll have something called quick cast setting. Click into quick cast setting and you can actually change individually this setting for every individual hero in the game, for every individual spell and ability and input that they have. For the purposes of this video, we'll just focus on the globals. And we got 3 options: off, on, and on release. Okay, so here we are in the game, and this is us using a quick cast turned off, which is the default when you are first turning on the game. You press an ability, for example, I press Q right here, then you left click and it fires off your ability. We press W, it brings it up. A right click will move us and cancel the command. Malfurion, you are very brave, my friend. W, left click and it executes the ability. Back in the game with quick cast turns on, I press Q and the abilities instantly fire. In fact, let me toggle cooldowns here just to make that super clear. So I just put my mouse over here, press Q and it's fired, press W and it instantly fires. It doesn't bring up a targeting reticle, it just instantly activates the ability as soon as I press that button down. The final option is on release. I press down Q, it brings up a targeting reticle. I take my finger off of Q and it, well, rip Arthas, he died before he could even hit, but it fires as soon as I take my finger off the key. So it removes the mouse as an input that's necessary. So again, press down Q, brings up the targeting reticle, take my finger off and it fires it off. If I do it quickly, it looks like this. It goes pretty quickly. This is what it looks like if I just press it as pretty much as quick as I can. There's very little delay, but it does enable you to, take the time. Let's say we're chasing this Malfurion. He's an evil Malfurion. We're chasing him down. We want to aim it just right. There we go. Great, we got him. Okay, cool. We're chasing Arthas. Okay, he's gonna go this way, and there you go. That's what on release allows you to do, is it gives you the option between the two. So which one of these options is best? What should you be using? Well, it's very important that you use one of the quick cast options because they enable you to do things just that much faster, and that reflex time really does matter a lot in higher levels. You can get away with the default settings, but ironically enough, it's more difficult because it's actually, you have to be faster to get away with the default settings because there's an extra input that you need to do to make your abilities go off. You need to do a mouse input as well, which is extra stress on you. You don't want to have to do that. I think the best option is probably actually to combine both quick cast and quick cast on release as well. Even sometimes for very particular abilities, you might even want to turn it off. Let's say something that requires very precise aiming, like Tassadar's Force Wall, for example. Generally speaking, I advise you just jump straight to quick cast. If you're concerned you don't know the ability ranges, you're not super familiar with heroes, try a quick cast on release. But it's really important that you do start using one of those options in your games, and you will find that you can play much faster, much more consistently, especially with heroes like Vala or Illidan, really fast heroes whose inputs you need to be on top of at all times. Okay, tip number 2 is something called stutter stepping, and this will actually be slightly altered if you have implemented the quick cast like I advised in the previous tip. What is stutter stepping? Well, in short, it is interspersing movement commands between your basic attack commands. So for example, I run up, I start shooting Arthas. Very nice. Well, Arthas is eventually going to start running away. What I can do is I can put movement commands in between my basic attacks to still get off as many basic attacks as before, while also moving at the same time. Okay, we've got minions turned back on so I can show this. But yeah, I can, with right clicks, move around this minion wave. Very easy. I'm doing this all with right clicks. Now, one thing you'll notice is you'll probably see me make a couple of mistakes right there. It does get fairly difficult to be consistently accurate with this, especially on a range hero like Vala. For example, if I'm stutter stepping around Arthas, I want to move and click Arthas. Whoops, I missed my right click. Instead of clicking on Arthas to shoot him, I clicked behind and oh dear, I just ran into Arthas. I'm Vala, now I'm in melee range of Arthas. I'm in the Frozen Tempest, this is terrible. What can I do? Well, there is something else you can do to make this a little bit easier, and that is using the attack move command. This by default is bound to the A key. So I press A. You'll see normally, by the way, a movement command is a little green click on the ground. Attack move command will do a red click. There we go. Basically, I will move in a direction until I find something that I can attack, then I will stop, and I will start shooting that thing. Great, awesome. And once they're dead, then you keep moving to where you previously submitted the command. Well, you can stutter step with this. Basically, we do an attack move, then a normal move. Attack move, normal move. I just had to go back and tweak the settings. It's like, this doesn't feel quite right. What's going on? I'd left quick cast on release off. Turned on by accident, which is not what I normally play with. Whoops. Anyway, back on track. I'll do it against this minion wave, but like we come in here with attack move. There we go. Gonna move around. And you can see just using attack moves beside my character, I'm able to completely control my character and still be getting off all my basic attacks while still moving. The disadvantage of this is that you're slightly less accurate, of course. You'll shoot basically the first thing that comes into range. For example, up against Arthas, it's obviously just a bot. But if he would pop Army of the Dead, and you have all the little summons around, we'll shoot the summons instead. If there's a minion wave, for example, if I attack move over here to shoot Arthas, right? You see I'm using attack move, I'm just shooting the minion because it's closer to me. If I want to shoot Arthas in this circumstance, I need to actually use right clicks to specifically target him. Either way, at the end of the day, there's the two methods that you can use to do stutter stepping in your games. This has a lot of advantages. It lets you be much more mobile in team fights, either to retreat while still doing as much damage as possible with your basic attacks, or to go forwards aggressively while still doing damage with your basic attacks as well. It also lets you be more mobile in the lane when you're clearing minions. You can dodge skill shots, and at the very worst, it gives your opponent a lot more information to think about and to process, right? It's very easy to lane against someone who's standing still shooting a minion wave. Much harder if they're juking around all over the place. You're not quite sure where they're going to go next, even if it's just completely random attack moves and they're just messing around, stutter stepping around minion wave, and they're not going to do anything. It's still something they need to process. One final little tip here is that the right clicking on targets to shoot a particular one is very important for ranged heroes. For melee heroes, you're typically, hitting something in melee range. It's the closest thing to you anyway. So attack moves for them, again, a hero like Illidan, it's much more simpler and you probably get away with that most of the time. But yeah, with a ranged hero like Vala, who I'm playing here, you're gonna be wanting to intersperse some particular right-click aimed attacks on priority targets as well during team fights or laning and so on. Okay, tip number 3 is using the control hotkey. What is the control hotkey? Well, the control hotkey brings up your talents, which is very, very useful. Press control brings up the talent selection over here. Additionally, control combined with the number key, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on some heroes. ETC, I'm pretty sure, still has 5 talents at level 20. They've been removing that, but yeah, still up to 5. But yeah, if you combine control with that number, you will choose that particular talent. So for example, over here, I'm playing as Vala. Oh, I forgot to take my level 1 talent. I'm an idiot. Well, I want to take Monster Hunter, which is the first one over here. I can pop control, take a quick glance without taking my attention off the fight too much, and still lets me be effective here if I want to. Okay, I'm gonna get control 1, gonna get puncturing arrow as well to get a stack as we kill Arthas. Awesome stuff. And there you go. That really, I hope, illustrates the purpose of the control selection for talents. It lets you choose talents while you are in the middle of team fighting. The normal regular way, you can press N to permanently bring up your talent selection, which might be useful in some circumstances. You can also click the hero portrait and then manually click a talent. Obviously though, you need your mouse to play the game. You use the mouse an awful lot for aiming, for movement and all that sort of stuff. So you don't really want your mouse involved. Much, much better to use the control plus click version to select your talents as quickly as possible. How often should I use this, Nubkeks? Like, can I get away with just clicking, when I'm in the lane and nothing much is happening? Not really. To be honest, 95% of the time, you want to be using the control method. You want to be as comfortable with this as possible so that, yeah, those times where you need to grab Ice Block in a team fight and activate it immediately to survive on a support hero, you can do it. Those times when you need to grab Mosh Pit on ETC, this, like as you're power sliding into the enemy team, as you've just hit level 10, you need to be comfortable enough to do it. So yeah, I highly, highly suggest that every single time you're picking a talent, you should be using the control plus number key in order to do it. It might take some getting used to at the start, but it's just so much more effective, so much more flexible, and you really need to practice this skill. For tip number 4, we have become the bot Malfurion. Actually, there's still another one there. There's 2 Malfurions in this game. That's how we roll. But this is the Alt hotkey. This hotkey has a ton of uses. One that you might not know is Alt, and pressing an ability will self-cast it. So for example, Alt plus Q is Malfurion, toggle cooldowns even, will automatically self-cast this on me. Great, fantastic. Really nice when you're playing supports to be able, in a pinch, in a team fight where things are really hectic and you suddenly get targeted by CC, you get locked down and your life is in danger, you can throw out a heal, you can throw out a divine shield and anything like that on top of yourself and get yourself back in the action. Another sometimes somewhat wonky version of this is area abilities will also be self-cast. So for example, Alt plus E will cast Roots underneath Malfurion. You can do this with pretty much every area ability. For example, with Valon, Reign of Vengeance, you're able to do it as well and just cast it right in front of her. It's quite clunky. So yeah, self-casting area abilities, not usually as useful, but it is something that's there. The best example I can think of an area ability that I self-cast basically every single time would be Azmodan's Blackpool. You can, like, while you're aiming elsewhere on the map completely, you can use Alt or to self-cast that Blackpool so that you can get the best Infernal Globes possible. So that's one example of it being kind of useful. Other uses for Alt, you can click your health to tell your teammates how much health you have. Click your mana. Another thing you can do is click your abilities to let them your teammates know, okay, I'm ready to use Regrowth. One of the most useful things you can do is go, guys, I don't have my heroic up for 84 seconds, be careful. Or for example, if there's like 5 seconds left on your heroic and you're like, go in, I've got Tranquility in 5 seconds, go. Okay, Tranquility is a bad example, but let's say your Kelthus with Pyroblast. You're like, let's go in, I've got Pyroblast. Your teammates will be super excited to hear that you picked Pyroblast, and then they'll be super excited to know that it's available. So yeah, that's one useful thing you can do. Of course, then just regular pings are also something you can do. So just ping here, you can ping a hero. If it's an AI, you grab hold of them. You can ping an enemy hero to say, I want to kill this person, or I want to push this cannon tower, all that sort of stuff. And then Alt, and then click and hold it down. You bring up the ping wheel, in case you don't know what this is, but you can say, I'm on my way. You can say, there's danger, go back. You can say, defend, and you can say, assist me. So a whole bunch of different tools. Our retreat, by the way, is by default bound to V. You can do retreat ping. So yeah, there you go. Finally, and in some ways I've saved maybe one of the best things for last. This really blew my mind when I discovered it. But this is the shift hotkey. What does that do? This lets you queue up commands. So for example, something pretty useless I can do is just do a whole bunch of movement commands in a circle. Hey, cool, I'll take my mouse off. Hey, mouse over here. Hey, we're looking over here. What's going on? I'm still running in circles because I queued up a whole bazillion movement commands, and I'm just going to execute those in order of what I put in by holding down shift and right clicking. Not particularly useful to do this unless you want to look really fancy while you go to the toilet or something, feign that you're still playing the game while you are secretly running to get a biscuit. Maybe that's what you want to do. Much more useful thing you can do with this though is never fail, mounting and then oops, I moved and cancel my mount command. Never fail again. Simply press Z, shift right click, and you'll instantly, the millisecond your mount command completes, you will start moving. A really next level version of this, I'm going to try illustrate this against a minion wave. Let's pretend that this wizard minion is like the altar on Towers of Doom. I'm going to right click him to channel the altar, then shift Z to queue up my mount command, then shift right click to move immediately. Now this might go a bit wonky because Arthur's here. Shift Z, shift right click, here we go. This stuff is queued up. Minion goes down, I mount up, and there I go. I had my hands basically off the keyboard at that point. But I queued all that stuff up. It's so useful, especially on a map like, Towers of Doom, perfect example. It lets you basically turn elsewhere completely on the map and know that you are going to grab the altar, you're going to mount up, start mounting the millisecond the altar channel is completed, and then the millisecond that your mount channel is completed, you're going to start running down in the direction that you indicated. Incredibly useful stuff. Another very useful example of this is also for grabbing healing fountain. So I'm going to mount up, shift right click the healing fountain, I'm going to shift right click back into lane. In the meantime, I'm going to check out the talents. What has Arthur's picked up? Okay, he's got Army of the Dead. That's good to know. Hey, we're back. And instead of not doing anything, instead of manually dragging Malf over, clicking the fountain, okay, it's the second he's clicked the fountain, I click back into lane. Instead of doing that, I can basically completely safely, knowing that everything's going to be fine, I can click over here, click back into lane. Great. I can check out the talents. I can look at the minimap. I can, check out hypothetical bottom lane. I can check out hypothetical top lane. I can see how my teammates are doing and then adjust my gameplay with that. And this also, of course, works with Hearthstoning. I can Hearthstone, shift right click back into lane. Great, I'm going to pop back to the fountain. There we go, I'm back. And then my hero is just automatically running back to where I told him to go to. So a very useful way, you know, when you're just heartstoning really quick, or let's say you're heartstoning to go to an objective down in bottom lane from the top lane, you can set up your hero to do that. You can review the talents, you can review the strategic situation, and be moving forwards way more information than you would otherwise have. So there you guys go. They are the top 5 tips I have to give for controls and hotkeys in Heroes of the Storm. I think once you start implementing these, have a pretty big effect actually on your gameplay. You know, you're going to be interacting with objectives more smoothly, you're going to be picking talents in team fights, you're going to be stutter stepping, you're going to be casting your spells much more quickly, and you'll be very comfortable communicating with your team and self-casting abilities as well. So yeah, if you found the video helpful, if you learned anything from it, give it a thumbs up, let me know what you thought, and also let me know what other kinds of videos you would like to see down below. Your encouragement is very much helpful to motivate me to do these. Seriously, I'm very lazy, so it really does help. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned something. And I'll catch you all next time for more Heroes of the Storm. Bye-bye. Oh, before I go, there should be buttons around the place to subscribe. I've got a Patreon if you really love the video and want to support me even more. Should be another video you could check out too that you might enjoy. All that sort of stuff. I don't know what I'm going to put here yet, but there'll be stuff and cards. Lots of stuff. Enjoy. See you guys. Bye-bye.